Welcome, aloha, shalom, and of course a warm salam alaikum to all of our listeners worldwide. We got a great show for you today going over week 0 and the kickoff of the 2023 college football season. But before we get into it, I want to give a huge shout out to UMass for their huge week 0 win over the New Mexico State Aggies, 41-30. These are two legendary NCAA 14 teams. I'm currently grinding on a multi-year dynasty with the UMass Minutemen under legendary coach Barry McCockiner. Now let's get into the games. We'll start the show off in sunny Southern California where the USC Trojans defeated the San Jose State Spartans 56-28. But don't let that score fool you. The theme I saw when watching this game was chinks in the armor. USC did not look like the number 6 rated team in the country. To start you off, I'll give you a quote from a friend of mine. We'll call him Captain Jack. He sent me this quote at the end of the first quarter, and it reads, "After all this wait to see USC football, and after one quarter, I'm already ready to microwave my balls while slamming my head in a refrigerator." End quote. Now those are powerful words. Thank you for those, Jack. This was a competitive game until about midway in the third quarter. San Jose had a pretty impressive touchdown to end the second half through the air and made the game pretty competitive. The big complaint about USC last year and in recent history was their defense. In 2022, they gave up 29 points per game on a weak Pac-12 schedule. And of course, who can forget Lincoln Riley had his issues with defense at Oklahoma, wasting the talents of several Heisman-winning quarterbacks. So it'll be interesting to see if he can turn that around at USC or if it'll be more of the same old. They made some steps to improve their defense over the offseason, picking up 14 defensive transfers, 7 of them being 4 stars and the rest are 3 stars. So there was a lot of hope going into this season, but I think USC fans and USC Nation are a little bit on the edge and scared that they did not improve and that they could potentially waste the generational talent of Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams started off a little bit slow in this game, but he warmed up in the second half, ended up throwing for 280 yards and 4 touchdowns, looked unstoppable in the second half despite his painted nails. Now, the other star of this game was Zachariah Branch. The true freshman caught 4 passes for 60 yards and a receiving touchdown, but most impressively had an electric kick return in the second half, 90-something yards. It looked like a young Reggie Bush or LaMichael James, and this is something that USC Nation can be really excited for. Now let's go a few thousand miles and skip across the Atlantic Ocean to Dublin, Ireland, where the Notre Dame Fighting Irish took on Navy and defeated them soundly 42-3. This game was totally dominated by the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in all aspects of the game and was near a perfect game for Notre Dame. Now, going back to 2022, one of the big concerns for the Irish was their passing game, and this has been a concern for the team for the last few years. Now, in 2022, their offense averaged 200 yards through the air, which put them in the bottom 30 of the FBS. They had a lot of questions at quarterback last year. Their quarterback, Tyler Buckner, out of the Bishop School in San Diego, California, missed most of the year with an injury and ended up transferring this offseason to Alabama, where he's expected to be the third-string quarterback after quarterback Sam Hartman transferred in from Wake Forest. The super senior played a near-perfect game today against the Navy Midshipmen, going 19 for 23, 251 yards, and 4 touchdowns. The Irish faithful are hoping that Sam Hartman can come in and bring an explosive passing game that the team has been missing, so they can take some attention off from that elite rushing game that they've had and utilize that elite offensive line talent that they do have this year. Now, their running backs also shined in this game. They were led by Audric Estime, who went 16 for 95 yards and a touchdown. He led the 5-headed monster of the Irish, which of course includes Love, Payne, Price, Ford, and Estime. So a lot of depth there behind their strong offensive line, and they really shined when attention was taken off of them with the passing game that Hartman brought. So this is exciting stuff for Notre Dame, and they really did look the part of a top 10 and a potential playoff caliber team. The defense played great. almost complete perfection. They gave up one field goal against the Navy midshipmen in the fourth quarter. And other than that, there was a big goose egg on the scoreboard for most of the game. One of the most impressive stats for me was that they had no defensive penalties and only one holding call on offense. So the team was really disciplined, and that was great to see. Now that brings me to one of my bigger points for the game. Marcus Freeman is a second-year head coach. Now, last year I'd give him about a B+ on the year. He had a great win against Clemson and did a great job recruiting, but what he lacked was game-to-game, week-to-week consistency. There were losses against Marshall and Stanford that were very disappointing to the fan base. He kind of has a little bit of the opposite attributes that Brian Kelly had. Brian Kelly struggled recruiting at an elite level, and he struggled to have his team play their best game against their best opponent. And Marcus Freeman has shown that he can do that, but he needs to take some of the aspects that Brian Kelly brought to the table, that team organization and game day coaching, so that Notre Dame can compete at a national level. So it'll be interesting to see if he can do that. And I believe he showed today that he can be a consistent game day coach. Obviously, it could be an easy game to sleep on with Navy being a lower tier team, a service academy, running the triple option, but he did a great job preparing his team today. Final thing I'd like to talk about on Notre Dame was their cornerback position. That has been a big question mark for Notre Dame the last 5-10 years. This year, they had veterans Benjamin Morris and Cam Hart at cornerback. And the Irish faithful are very excited about this group and are hoping they could have a defensive backfield that can compete at a national level. Now, that unit was not tested much today with Navy's triple option. They have Ohio State coming in on week 5 to Notre Dame, and they're going to need that room to play at an elite level to win that game. So I'll be excited to see how they play the next 4 games before they really get into the depth of their schedule, which is, of course, going to include Ohio State. They're going to Clemson, and they have USC at home, so exciting stuff. That'll do it for all of us in our apartment in scorching San Antonio, Texas. We'll have another podcast coming out this week, but until then, refrain from licking windows and stay safe out there. God bless.
Hey, word on the street, I'm a suspect.